down. And it's not just that they're going to take more shots than us. How many more shots than
Yeah,
us? You,
yeah.
you can survive a couple shots. You can't survive 15, 20 extra possessions, any extra shots. It's impossible to expect the Nets to overcome that. So that's a real issue for me.
Who's a
I
player?
know
Yeah,
it sounds like I'm
and I don't see an answer on the roster where how we're all of a sudden just going to become a strong rebounding team that doesn't foul against a bigger, stronger, more athletic opponent.
I get what you're saying. I just have seen I've just seen the last few years and some of the the best bets that I made was Harden covering on the Bucks, and he really dominates them. I mean, the win that we got, I don't think they were all the way together as a team yet when we got that win, so I'm not gonna tout that win as so great. But I, if I remember it right, Harden was by himself in that game, right? Like I think Kyrie was
No,
taking
KD played.
KD, so it was KD and Harden, and
Right.
we won that one. They were fully healthy.
yeah.
Um, what I'm more so basing it off of is that I've seen the D'Antoni, like when the Bucks were winning 70 games, damn near it seemed like, and number one in the East, they could not beat Harden and and Houston. And I just think this team is so much better, and something that Harden does to buttonholster teams, because they're very similar to Mike D'Antoni, and not on the defensive end, but offensively, and then how they defend. Um, he just has a field day on him. Like that's who I believe is the linchpin on this. Do you have faith that Harden can carry us, or is there someone else that you think has to be the catalyst for us to
Well, look,
take
in
them
the
out?
same vein that in the same vein that we can't have DeAndre sitting in the paint, they can't do that with Lopez either.
Right.
So my early guess is that Lopez is going to be played off the floor in this series because he doesn't shoot the ball well enough from the outside. He's not a huge post threat,
They
and the
think
Nets
he
are going to
does
put.
though. The league thinks he does. He thinks he does, and
He did for the
they
1 year, and it was kind of an outlier. But what's
right.
going to happen is the Nets will put him in every single screen and roll, and he's not going to be able to pull his drop coverage stuff. So if he winds up switching out on any one of our guards, or Durant, that's going to be it. So my guess is by game 2 or 3, you're going to really see his role slowly start to diminish. Um, that does work in our favor.
But
They can
you'll
go
see
to they
Tucker
can
is
go to Giannis at the 5. We don't have that type of counter.
that's true. That's true. But we who we are. Like I mean, the person who troubles me is PJ Tucker. That's another person that kind of takes my confidence away. He's not the same though. Like
No,
Tucker,
he'll fry it. Our guys will fry him.
yeah. I mean, but he'll do the little things. So I give that guy a lot of credit. But he's a little he's a can of baked beans right now though. Who do you guys have as like someone who's just gonna ruin our playoffs, that potentially can ruin our playoffs, that we're not talking about on that roster?
Get Los.
I was gonna go with Bobby Portis just because it's always the big guys that hurt the Nets,
Yeah,
and he can stretch the floor, and he's been hitting shots all year. He played well against the Miami Heat, so I'm gonna go with Bobby Portis.
And
yeah,
I'll say Drew Holiday because guess Kyrie can't guard him. He will muscle Kyrie. I don't James maybe. I don't really and Joe can't guard. We don't really have a matchup for him either. And this is all assuming that Durant can do a good job on Middleton, which think he'll do okay.
do you think
You,
Nash
you
will
know.
put? Do you think Nash will put KD on KD on Giannis?
Well, let's be honest. It doesn't fucking matter who he puts on them because the other team's going to walk down the floor, find their matchup, set a screen. We're going to willingly switch into it and create a mismatch against ourselves. So it really doesn't matter who's guarding who out of a side out. Milwaukee's going to dictate the matchups that they want. Now, look, maybe he's been playing coy all season, and he's like, I'm going to do this all year until we play a team like Milwaukee and then switch it up on him and fool everybody, but I highly doubt it.
Nah, they haven't even tried that, so
it's hard to even look at these matchups and start poking at who we want to guard who, because Milwaukee's going to decide who they play against. That's the reality.
That sucks, yo. Now you guys are making me really worried. Who's not gonna play on the Nets? Let's go on to our side of things, man. I'm not liking the way this like you got to give those guys credit in Milwaukee. They took a bunch of players that you know aren't gonna be divas, aren't gonna ask to be like moved. I think that was the best part about Jrue Holiday.
We've doubled down on offense all season. They've doubled down on size and physicality. You know, the tradition will tell you that they're built to win this time of year, and we are not. And, you know, what scares me is that we just might be that one off season away because we had to make the move for Harden, because things happened with Aldridge. You know, Green is out now, that we just may not have the horses. You know, the only reason this is a series is because of the big three. Otherwise, you know, if you looked at it on pit, you know, it wouldn't even be close in terms of the physicality. So, you know, I'm very worried, very, very worried.
Yeah,
well, that's a huge reason.
Los, I didn't hear you. Repeat that.
I'm saying the big three. That's a, you know, the big three isn't just some little thing. You know?
Well, yes, that's true. You know,
this ain't a regular big three.
What I was gonna say is, I will feel much better if Jeff Green only misses, let's say, game 1 or maybe game 1 and 2. If he's here for most of the series, then I think adding Jeff Green helps the Nets just with a body, somebody who can stretch the floor, somebody who can rebound, because the rebounding is going to drive me insane this series. But
yeah,
I think the best 5 guys we can put out against this team would be the big three, Bruce Brown and Jeff Green, or Claxton in lieu of Brown. But not having Green hurts us having the ability to play KD in that 3 spot.
Yeah, that.
And I don't know how we can work around that.
That I don't know what they're putting in. I don't know what they're doing. I really hope that Boston plays small, so we could play them small too and play them off the court. This Bucks team, man, I've never felt like we needed Jeff Green more, and then now is when he gets hurt, and then on top of it, I kind of liked Alizé guarding Giannis. He wasn't gonna play, but I would have liked to have seen him maybe be discovered and thrown against those guys, because he's physical, he's a shithouse, he makes a mess of things, and we don't have that guy. So I don't know. Let's do a starting lineup, guys. Give me your starting lineup. I know you just pretty much did, but restate it for me, Bam. Give me your starting lineup and tell me why for each player.
Well, with Green out, I would say the big three, Brown and Griffin, would be my starting 5.
Big three, Brown, Griffin. Cool. Los, put a 5 out there.
I hate to be the one to agree with Bam, but I agree 100%. There's no way I'm putting Jordan to start, and with Green out, Griffin has to start almost. And I love Harris, but I would put Brown to start the game ahead of Harris, and Harris come off the bench. Now, here's the problem when I'm thinking about that, is at some point, are we bringing Shamet and Harris into play together? Because if they're playing together, that's going to weaken the defense when they're on the floor together.
Shamet would be out of my rotation.
Yeah, Shamet would be out of my rotation for this. I mean, unless, you know, we needed some floor spacing in some place. But I really like Tyler Johnson over Shamet. Speaking of the bench, but Los, did you want to finish anything else?
There's no room for him in this series. I wouldn't have him in my rotation either.
Who? Tyler Johnson.
Tyler.
Who's
Maybe for
your
like a few minutes in the first half.
Who's your bench crew? Who's your, what? Give me your 8-man rotation then.
So the 5 I gave you to start.
Mm-hmm.
Harris off the bench, Claxton off the bench, and then I guess probably some minutes for Jordan and a handful of minutes for Johnson.
Yeah, that's impossible. They don't even play like that.
When Green comes back, I would take either DeAndre or Claxton out of the rotation, depending on how things go in the games without him, and insert him in those minutes. And frankly, maybe Blake comes out of the rotation, depending on how things are playing out.
I call it Houston minutes, because the beautiful thing about James Harden is coming to Brooklyn was he came to Brooklyn and he became a point guard, and he just stopped playing like he does in I mean it's similar, but how he gets his in Houston is very, very different from how he gets his in Brooklyn. Like, he recreated himself in Brooklyn, which is an amazing contribution from him, because he didn't have to. But I think they're gonna have a squad where it's Harden by himself, Claxton, and you're gonna have on each wing Joe Harris and Shamet, or Joe Harris and Tyler Johnson, and the fifth guy, which I don't understand why they don't do this, but there should be some times that it's KD and Harden or Kyrie and Harden. Like, they should stagger it more, but it looks like Kyrie and KD want to play together most of their minutes. And
let's not lose sight of the fact that against Boston, we didn't have to overextend these guys. I'm expecting all their minutes to go up in this series.
True. They're gonna play a whole lot. Yeah, I didn't even do my starting 5, so I'll take a step back. The big 3, right? I want Kevin Durant at small forward. This is not what I think he's gonna do. This is what I would like him to do. I would graduate Nick Claxton, because Jeff Green is not there. I would graduate Nick Claxton to the starting lineup. He has not looked great. He has played great in spurts. He shows, a lot of promise, and sometimes he's still our best defender in the playoffs. And he looks really good with KD. Like, those KD minutes with Claxton look amazing. So I'd love to see Griffin, Claxton, KD, Harden, Kyrie in the 5, and then you could run those those Houston teams with Harden by himself, with the bench, and the 2 shooters on the wings. I don't know how that works. I don't know if it works.
I don't hate the idea of it. I don't hate the idea of it, because you can use Griffin on Giannis or Claxton on Giannis.
Right.
But really, I would probably use Griffin on Giannis. I would have Claxton on Middleton. You could put Harden on Lopez if he's out there, because he's kind of just standing around the 3-point line anyway. And then you maybe put Durant on Drew, and then you hide Kyrie on what is his name? McConney, the white kid? Covington?
Yeah. Is it Connington?
I think it's, Connington or Covington.
The fucking white guy that can shoot.
Barely.
That guy.
Nah, Pat Connaughton, right? It's spelled weird. I mean, it's spelled one way, pronounced another. I think the DiVincenzo thing hurts them a lot. That's one of their best shooters.
That was a big loss for sure.
Is he coming back at all?
No, he's out for the playoffs.
And I'll be honest, if he was playing, I would have felt even worse, because he's not a bad defender. He's a pretty good defender.
Yeah.
And I think him and Green match. I guess they matched themselves. Like, with they're missing a big piece, we're missing a big piece. I just think, and it's something you guys mentioned earlier, Claxton just seems to play so much better when he's on the court with Harden.
Yeah.
last series he looked pretty good. Durant was finding him because we got to get